Welcome. I'm here with Edward Nwodeki, the founder and CEO of RedSwan CRE Marketplace. Edward, thank you for being here. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Edward, you have a very, very interesting concept with what you do with RedSwan, specifically for our audience, particularly retail investors and people looking to get into this kind of the market. So let's start off. Just give us a high-level overview of what RedSwan is and what you guys do.
Absolutely. RedSwan is a digital marketplace of commercial real estate assets. So we take assets, we digitize them, either the equity or the entire asset, and fractionalizing it into shares, making it much more affordable and liquid for investors. This helps sponsors to be able to recapitalize a very high percentage of equity in their properties, so they don't have to sell the property in order to crystallize and promote. It also substantially helps LP investors so that they're not stuck in an asset for a long period of time. So if they ever want to exit or need capital and want to sell some of their shares, they can do so in the secondary market. So it just creates more liquidity for commercial real estate.
That's perfect. Okay, really good start. Let's break into the details a little bit and how this actually works, right? Can you explain how investing in commercial real estate, but on the blockchain works? Can you take us through the technicals there?
Yeah, first of all, you have to identify an asset and verify the proper ownership. So that's number one. Before you can tokenize something, you have to verify the correct ownership. So once that's done, we then look at the value of the asset. And, because of our experience in being in commercial real estate, we know how to appraise an asset to understand the current value. And then once we do that, we look at the level of debt on the property. So if there's a bank involved, we're going to subtract the bank debt and come up with just your raw equity of the asset. And that's unlevered raw equity. From there, let's just say that's $40 million worth of equity. We would take that equity and divide it into 40 million shares, pricing it at $1 per share. We then tokenize those shares and then put them on the blockchain. So they now have a ticker symbol that represents that asset and the ownership of that asset. We store those security tokens with our partner, which is Coinbase, who holds them in custody. And from there, we start to issue those shares under our IRA license. We're licensed by the FINRA to be able to issue these shares to investors who seek alternative assets in real estate.
Okay, great. And then take us through the benefits of this, right? What are the benefits of investing directly in real estate versus a publicly traded REIT or a real estate investment trust, for example?
Well, if we're an investor, LP investor who is not an active participant in the management, this gives them an opportunity to, first of all, have access to higher quality properties, because typically that access is limited to very wealthy institutions or high net worth individuals who are writing, checks in the seven figures. But for an average investor, they get a chance now to buy in at a much lower price point. It also gives them a chance to be able to, like I said, port that investment if they want to sell part of it or all of it because they have a change in lifestyle and need some cash. They can now put it to the market on a secondary exchange and then sell it based on their asking price. It also allows them to democratize their investment. Typically, if you're making an investment in real estate partnership for an LP, let's say it's a $250,000 check, that's a large lump sum to put into one asset. And it's a lot of risk on one asset. But this way, you can actually take that same $250,000 and spread it amongst 25 assets at $10,000 a piece. And these would be assets of similar style and character, which actually balances out your risk and gives you a much more robust portfolio. So this is the basic benefits from investors' standpoint is just liquidity, transport, the access, and also the ability to democratize their portfolio.
Outstanding. Okay, let's talk about competitors in the space a little bit, right? Other people that are doing this and some of the differentiators. What features and capabilities set RedSwan aside from other real estate investing platforms, other people that might also be breaking into this space, which is still relatively new?
Yeah, it's a new space, and there's a few competitors out there. I think everyone does things a little bit differently. You have competitors out there like CrowdStreet who actually are doing crowdfunding and essentially using the same type of fractionalization of the equity so that smaller investors can get involved in higher quality projects. The difference with us is that we provide this on the blockchain so that we now make that a digital security, which makes it tradable and gives you the chance to exit your position as opposed to being stuck in that position for 5 or 7 years. So that's a major difference. There are other competitors in the marketplace that are also taking projects, they're fractionalizing it, but they buy the asset first, take it in, and then fractionalize it and then allow investors to come in and participate on that asset. But in that case, investors are typically buying a limited pool of assets that is owned by that one entity. And I'm not sure if the pricing they're buying it for is a discounted pricing or a retail pricing, but they're buying it after the fact that it's already been purchased. And so they're now sharing into that asset. But again, they're not using blockchain. So their investors are kind of stuck in that asset until it hits its level of maturity and this asset is now sold off to bring back the capital and be able to distribute that to their investors. So everyone is out there doing things differently. There are also people who are focused on using blockchain like we are, but they're focused on single family residential homes or funds where they're trying to create a fund and have syndicate dollars into their funds so they can go out and buy assets on behalf of those shareholders. RedSwan tries to keep it simple. We work directly with high quality sponsors, so therefore we're not really involved in those properties. We just pick and vet the ones we think are best for our clients, and we make sure they have the exposure as an LP, which gives them the liquidity to get out whenever they can.
Oh, yeah. So when we're looking at the rest of 2022, but especially beyond too, right? Big developments, exciting news. We're paying attention to RedSwan. And what things should we have on the horizon as retail investors, but as an audience as a whole, what should we have on the horizon?
More options for investing. So we're going to have the largest marketplace of commercial real estate assets. We have now a lot of multifamily assets, over 18 multifamily assets. We're bringing on several, close to 10 hotels. So the hospitality area will be covered. We're now looking at distressed office buildings that I think would be great buys for individuals to get into. The principle of buy low, sell high still makes a lot of sense in real estate. And so we're looking for those type of opportunities to pass on to our investors. We're also looking at other ways to finance real estate on the capital stack. So right now our focus is equity, and I think we're doing a good job of that. But as we later on, we're going to be launching some digital assets that will be focused on financing the debt. It's specifically mezzanine debt, which tends to be the second most expensive form of capital in the capital stack. We created our first NFT of a commercial real estate asset. It was the State Nay Hotel. We created our first NFT. So it's a beautiful NFT that's going to be given to investors who buy the minimal amount of allocation. We'll get one NFT per allocation, which I think will be kind of exciting now. This is the first time this has been offered to investors. Those NFTs will be packed with some VIP perks that we think will create value. So you'll now have the security token that lets you share in the profitability of that asset, but also an NFT that gives you VIP perks with regards to the sponsors of that asset. So we're excited about that.
Outstanding. More exciting things than we can even keep track of in one interview. Edward, you're the founder and CEO of RedSwan CRE Marketplace. Obviously, you can keep an eye on RedSwan at their site, but also benzinga.com, where we have more news coming out every week about everything you guys are working on. Edward, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Please stay tuned.